Hello, hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Colette, and thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a minute since I've been on YouTube, but I'm excited to share my practice with you all, and so I hope you enjoy it as well. So, we're going to begin in an easy seat, either with your eyes closed or with a soft gaze, palms up or down, down for grounding, up to receive energy. I like to keep my palms down in the beginning of my practice. We're going to take some deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. One more in through the nose and out through the mouth. While we're sitting here, I'd like to share my intention for today's practice is to be a gentle hip awakening. Hips are really important for our body, essential for everyday function, and many believe that the hips carry a lot of emotion and tension and trauma. And so I invite you to see what comes up for you today as we do these gentle hip openers. Right, and as we progress throughout this series, we're going to continue to work on our hips and doing a bit more deeper and intense stretches as we get through. So once again, let's now begin our practice with our eyes closed, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And you can slowly flutter your eyes open, lifting our hands up above our heads, pinkies face forward, biceps by our ears, really elongating our spine, getting that stretch, bringing the crown of our head to the sky. And we're going to use our left hand and place it on our right knee. We're going to use our left hand and place it on our right knee. And that's going to begin giving us a slight twist. And we're going to intensify that twist by placing our right hand behind us and looking and gazing behind that right elbow, shoulder. For 3, 2, 1. And now we're going to lift up that back hand and lift it up and over, trying to get diagonal or in line with our left side of our body, keeping our butts down. And so getting that right body stretch. And we're going to hold that again for 3 breaths. So in through the nose for 3, 2, and 1. And then unraveling and doing the same on the other side. So taking that right hand, left knee, left hand behind, and gazing over that left shoulder for 3. And hopefully with each exhale, you're deepening in that pose, in that stretch. And now lifting up that left hand up and over to the right side of the body for 3, 2, and 1. And now we're going to make our way to child's pose. So going to the back of our mat, big toes touching, opening up our knees to widen it to the outskirts of our mat so that we can have enough space to put our body, our chest, our stomach in between. So hinging at the hips, leaning forward, maybe using your hands to help guide you down, and then walking out, really pressing down that chest and forehead to the mat as much as it is in your practice. Just taking some breath here. Child's pose can be a both active and passive pose, depending on how you position yourself. This is also a great way to open up your chest and shoulders. And so we're going to do an active child pose by now going to the tips of our fingers. And so our chest and forehead is like hovering over the mat. And we're going to continue to do that left body and right body side stretch by walking our hands to the right and having that left hand over the right. And getting that full body stretch here. Breathing in for 3, two, and one. And then moving through the center to the left side and doing the same thing there. Still keeping our butts down as much as we can to our heels. For three, two, one, zero. And now making our way back through center and then walking ourselves up. And we're going to do some quick and easy wrist stretch. I think it's important that we, stretch out, work our wrists. We always do a lot with our hands, a lot with our fingers, very much so in this like crunching way. And so sometimes it's good to counteract that pose. And so we're going to place our wrist on the mat and making sure that our fingers are all activated, spread out wide, and just doing some circles using our body weight. And depending on how much you lean forward, will impact how much pressure you're putting on your wrist. And then maybe go on the other way. And so now I'm going to flip my fingers towards me. So it's flipping my hand internally. Right? And that now, as I lean back, impacts the intensity of this stretch. So once again, doing some circles. And then going the other way. And I'm going to flip that left hand back, and I'm going to do the same with my right. Fingers towards me, doing some slight circles. And then the other way. Okay, and so now I'm just going to shake that out, right? And then we can move into now tabletop. So tabletop, having our wrist over our shoulders or shoulders over our wrist, fingers still spread out and active. I like to make them as wide as possible so that all the pressure is not going just on my wrist. My fingers are also, doing some of the work too. Knees below our hips, right? Boom, bam. And now we are in the tabletop. And so we're going to begin doing some cat cows, lifting our chest, tilting our tailbone up, opening our chest, and squeezing the shoulders, squeezing those shoulder blades behind our back and seeing if we can get them to touch each other, right? And inhale, and this is our cow. For three, two, one. And now tilting that tailbone down, concaving our shoulders, kind of like rounding them out. And now we are in our cat pose. It's giving very like meow, like, like in this position. So if that feels good in your body, go for it. And now inhaling back to cow and exhaling to cat. Doing a few more rounds on your own. Maybe adding some extra stretches in there, moving to one side or the other side, warming up your body. Whew. And one more inhale, cow, and exhale, cat. Okay, and so now we're back in neutral spine, tabletop. And I always like to activate my core just to warm me up a little bit, and so I'm going to tuck my toes and hover my knees over for about a few inches, and I'm just going to hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0. And so now I'm going to move into my first downward dog. I'm going to lift my butt up and back, really get in my downward dog. Seeing if I can have my heels touch the mat. Maybe I like to spread out a little bit more so I have more room. Walking my hands out so I can really press that chest towards my thighs. Opening up my shoulders again. And then maybe doing some walks. So bending your knees, alternating bend. Maybe both bend at the same time, both straight in. Just depends in warming up your body. Ooh. And we are here. And now I'm going to move into a three-legged dog, which is I like to place my left foot a little bit more in the middle so it helps to balance me. Lifting that right leg up, and now I'm in a three-legged dog. And doing some circles, some knee circles. And once again, waking up my hips, getting some hip mobility in there. And I'm going to bring my knee to nose. And I'm kind of like in a plank pose now. And then lift it back up to three-legged dog. And the next time now, knee to nose, I'm going to step my foot down and now bringing that left foot down. And here I am in a low lunge. So my knee is over my ankle. My back foot is down. And I can either stay like this, place my hands on my knee, or even up above in my low lunge. And here it's definitely opening up my hips, right? I can feel it all the way here. And depending how deep you sink, will intensify that stretch as well. Just breathing here. Thinking about having my hips squared. So making sure that left hip is still pushing forward and not being pushed back, because I know it feels natural to do. And then having this right hip pushed back so that my hips are squared on the same track, right? So my hips are squared, and I'm going to stay here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and now I'm going to place my hands down, walking them back as I shift my hips back, and now straightening that front leg into a half split. So you can stay here, or to intensify the stretch, you can start bringing your chest to thigh and bringing knee to nose, and now deepening the half split. And holding this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 0. Right, and so now I'm going to shift my hips back forward, straightening back that front leg. Straightening? No. Squaring that front knee again, and now I'm back in low lunge. And this time I'm going to move into lizard pose. So lizard pose, I'm going to use this right foot and I'm going to step it out to the outskirts of my mat, and now placing my hands in the middle. Right, and so I can stay here in lizard pose, or if I want to deepen this, I can go now on my forearms, really deepening this stretch here in my hips, and holding this for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 0. So pressing back up if you went down, stepping that back in, right, and lifting up that back foot to help me step this right foot through, and now I'm back in my downward dog, and maybe pedaling that out. And now doing the same to the other side. So stepping that right foot a little bit more centered, lifting up that left leg, doing some knee circles, and now having knee to nose, stepping back up, and then stepping that left foot through, and right knee down, and boom, bam, I'm in my low lunge. Whew. And you can place your hands on your knee, on the side, or up, depending on how this feels for you. Remembering to square my hips. So squaring them, pushing this left hip back, right forward, and sitting here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shifting my hips back, straightening that front leg, hinging at the hips, forward folding into my half split. And 0. So now going back to my low lunge, stepping this foot out and placing my hands on the inside, and boom, bam, I am in lizard pose. And maybe going to my forearms if that feels good in your practice. Right, one side might be different than the other, and that's okay. Our bodies are not symmetrical, and that's what makes you perfect. 3, 2, 1, and 0. Stepping that back in, going back on the ball of my feet, stepping up and back, and now I am in my downward dog and pedaling that out. And we're going to do one more round. Right, so left foot in the middle, and now I'm in my three-legged dog. Knee circles, right? Hopefully our body is warmed up, and we can just step that foot right in between, bringing that left knee down and back in our low lunge. This time you can stay here, or you can lift your hands up and over, using your right hand to grab your left wrist and really pulling the left side of your body to the right, getting that stretch, and maybe even going to the right and back to really deepen this low lunge. Hold it for 3, 2, yes, you can. And 1, placing my hands back down, shifting back, straightening that front leg, and now I'm back in my forward fold, right? Maybe having my toes either pointed or flexed. I feel for me, flex, I get that more of that tension and stretch, and knee to nose and holding that for 3, 2, ooh, and 1. And then shifting forward, squaring that knee, and then stepping out to my lizard pose, having my hand on the inside, deepening here. And here you can start adding some movement, making it from passive to active. To actively be in this position, actively be in this asana, keeping the body warm. The warmer you are, the more it helps and aids in allowing these muscles and these bands and these tendons to loosen up. Right? And maybe going down to our forearm if we haven't done so already. For 3, 2, 1, stepping back up, shifting, going back to that left ball of your feet, lifting up and back. And now I'm back in my downward dog. And doing the same to the other side. Stepping that right foot in, lifting that left leg, three-legged dog. Whew. And now stepping that left foot through into my low lunge. Right. If you ever want to get warmer faster, turn your oven on. Ooh, baby. Definitely will help. So once again, you can keep your hands on your knees or lifting up above head, using this left hand to grab the right wrist, leaning side and back to really deepen in this low lunge. For 3, 2, and 1. Hands framing, shifting back, straighten that left leg, and now I'm back in my half split again. And just remembering that your body wants to shift to the opposite side of where your leg is, and so forcing it to go back by squaring them. So keeping them in the same railroad track. And then you'll be able to feel it more, this hamstring stretch as well. For 3, 2, 1, and 0. Shifting back forward, stepping that left foot out, and now back in my lizard's pose. Forearms down. Maybe doing some wiggles, some movement, some bouncing. For 3, bounce on that dance. Stepping it back in, framing, lifting that back foot up and back, and now I'm back in my downward dog. And just pedaling that out. Pedaling this out. Yes. And hopefully you're not slipping like I am with this mat. Right? And I'm gonna look forward. I'm gonna walk my feet to my hand, and now I'm in a forward fold. Forward fold. You can stay here. You can have your knees bent. I always think it's nice to have a slight bend in the knees. Really dropping the neck, allowing the neck to get some release. Maybe stepping your feet out a bit wider than hip distance so you have more space for your stomach, your chest to really sink in. And you can either place your elbow to opposite elbows, opposite hands, and doing a little nod and yes and no. Placing your hands down and bringing your weight all the way down into a seated position. And this is called staff pose, right? So I like to move a little bit of the booty meat, out the way so I feel like I'm really grounded and seated. And then once again, having that spine erected, shoulders back, crown of my head aligned with the sky, and boom. And now here I'm going to once again hinge at the hips and do a forward fold. So I'm hinging at the hips, making sure my back is still straight and leaning down. And I can be here, maybe at the calves, at your ankles, or even to your heels or toes, knee to nose, or nose to knee this time, as if you did in your half split. And having your toes pointed or flexed, or maybe alternating between the two. 3, 2, 1, and 0. And then making my way back up. And I'm going to make my way into bound angle pose. So having the bottom of my feet touch each other, right? And making like a nice little diamond shape here. And depending on how it feels for you, you can either bring them closer to you or further away. I think I'll do like about here. And then having my hands cup my feet. And maybe you can do a little butterfly. And here you can already see that I'm hinging at the hips once again to deepen this. But making sure I'm not rounding my back, but having my back straight so that I can really feel it here in my inner thighs. Holding this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And then here, maybe scoot up a little bit forward because we're going to do a recline bound angle, right? So once again, keeping it here, keeping these there, you can feel it. But now this time I'm leaning back. That will bring a different intensity and leaning back, and now I'm in a recline. And now I'm using gravity to push down my hip. And that may be a lot. And so if you have blocks or blankets to bring the ground closer so that there's a bit more support as gravity is pressing down. And if not, just let it be. It's okay to have a sensation, but we don't want pain. Holding this for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And you can stay here in Shavasana if this feels good to you. Or you can now close your thighs as if it was a book gently, right? And then bringing your legs down into a corpse pose where you're dropping your shoulders, relaxing your fingers, letting them just be natural, feet naturally. And you are now in your final resting. You did it. There's nothing left to be done. Release tension from the mouth, opening your jaw, unfurling your eyebrows, surrendering to the mat. And if you have time, you can stay here longer. If you're ready to end your practice for today, begin by rolling to one side, whatever feels comfortable to you, and using that hand to help lift you up back into easy seat. Continue to have your eyes closed, palms down or up. And let's take 2 collective breaths together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more, in through the nose, out through the mouth, and then palms together, heart center. Thank you for sharing your practice with me today. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste and Ashe.